Gittin Daf Gimbal contains two Mishnayos. The beginning of the Daf until the first Mishnah continues the Gemara's discussion about how a Chereshite or Katan person assumed to not have intelligence, how he could write a get. Why is it not Pramal Lishma? The Gemara will give three answers. Then we'll get to our next Mishnah, and later we'll have the second Mishnah of the Daf, which discuss who is allowed to be a Shliach to bring a get. Let's begin the Gemara. The Gemara is commenting on the last Mishnah where we have seen the Mishnah says that a Cheresh, a Shota, or a Katan, or assumed to be non-having their own, they do not have their own intelligence, they're kosher to bring a get, to write a get. The Gemara wants to know how could they be kosher to write a get? We know the Lacha said a get has to be written Lishma, and these people don't have the Das to be able to create a get Lishma. So the Gemara is going to give three answers. The Gemara's first answer, which we mentioned yesterday, is Rav Huna. Rav Huna says we're talking about where there is a gadol, an adult, a healthy adult supervising them, and placing das into their actions. And he's saying that this is being written for this person, for this person, for this person. Now, this is assuming that the get does have to be written lishma, but there is a way for Khan to do it, and that's with somebody who is observing him. Rav Nachman disagrees on this. Rav Nachman is going to give a different answer, but first he attacks this one. He says if that's true, so then a guy should also be kosher to write a get with a Yisrael Oimed al Gabav and inserting the das into it. We have a brayso that says that it is possible. What's pshat? So my response says it's not a kasha. A child or a cheresh or a shaita don't put in any das. So in a situation like that, a gadol could provide the das. But if you have a guy who's a gadol, he has das, and therefore he puts in his own das, having someone supervise him doesn't create the das that you need. So that's Rav Huna's shita. The Gemara now notes Rav Nachman has his own shita, and Rav Nachman's approach is going to be that the pshat in this Mishnah here, the reason that it says that a cheresh of a katan could write the get, because this Mishnah is actually the opinion of Rabbi Meir, who holds Edei Chasima Karti. The main part of a get is the signatures. We don't care who wrote it. It could even be printed by a computer. It makes no difference, as the Gemara will say, and therefore it does not have to be Lishma. The only thing it has to be Lishma is the signatures, and the Chereshite of Katan here are not signing. So the Gemara goes through, the Gemara presents Rav Nachman's opinion as follows. It says, Rav Nachman says, first of all, that which I told you, that a guy cannot write a get, is not true. He is allowed to, and I'll bring you a proof. This is a brayso that says that he's not allowed to bring a get, which indicates that only bringing is not allowed to do, but writing is allowed to. The Gemara asks, which above me brayso that says that it's possible that he's not allowed to. So Rabbi Nachman explains, one's Rabbi Meir, one's Rabbi Elazar. According to Rabbi Elazar, Ede Misir Karti, and therefore the main part of the get is the writing and the giving of it. The signatures are irrelevant, and therefore it cannot be done by a guy because it has to be the Shema. According to Rabbi Meir, Ede Chasima Karti, and therefore the main part of the get is the signatures. We don't care how it was written. Now the Gemara asks, but wouldn't you say that the guy is doing it for himself? So there's no Shema, and Rav Nachman explains, he doubles down, and he's saying Rav Meir doesn't care how it was written, even if you find it in the garbage, there is no requirement of Lishma at all. And therefore that's pshat in this Mishnah. Now the Gemara has three kashas on this. The Gemara has three brises which seem to show that you do have to have the writing Lishma. The Gemara is going to answer each of them. One answer, which the Gemara says at the end, is that all these brises do hold you need to have the writing Lishma, but all these brises are Rav Elazar, who holds Ede Masir Karti, and therefore the writing has to be done correctly. Rav Meir would argue and say just the signatures, and he's our Mishnah here. The Gemara is going to give other answers, which are to say that every time it says writing, it's really referring to the signing. Now, what are these brises? So Rava brings them. The first one Rava asks is that it says V'chas avla lishma. It says it has to be written lishma. The Gemara answers again those two answers. It's not referring to the writing, it's referring to the signing, or it's Rav Elazar. Next is that it says any get which is written not for the specific woman is possible. So the Gemara again says it means that it's not signed for the specific woman, or it's Rav Elazar. And verse 3 kasha is that it says that it's possible to write part of a get and make the entire thing lishma. So Gemara says, what does it mean? Which part could you write to make the whole thing lishma? Simplest explanation is that's referring to the specific parts, to the toyref, to the names and the place and the date. That has to be written lishma, but the rest of it, and if that's lishma, then the entire thing is considered lishma. So you do see writing has to be lishma. And again, the Gemara answers no, it's referring to the signatures, it's not referring to the writing of the toyref. And of course, you can answer on this as well that it's Rabbi Elazar. Okay, so this is the Gemara's second approach to explain the Mishnah, that it's Rabbi Meir who doesn't care about the writing. The Gemara's third approach is Rabbi Huda and Shmuel, and he says that the Cheresh and the Shait and the Katan are writing only the toifes. They're writing only the standard form of the get, which can be filled in. They're not writing the taref, which is the specific parts, the names and the date, the place. That all has to be written lishma, and they're not writing that. Gemara quotes Rav Chag in the name of Ula, says the same answer, and this, of course, fits in with Rav Elazar because it does have to be written Lishma, but only the Torah has to be written Lishma. Now, the Gemara has a bit of a discussion as to what Rav Yechanan holds. Rav Zerika quotes Rav Yechanan, who says this is not Torah, meaning it's not correct. And Rabbi Abba says here he's teaching you the halacha of Lishma, which is that he holds that this Mishnah, which says that you don't have to have, that you're allowed to have a cheresh shayta v'katan, is teaching you don't have to have Lishma in the signing. It could be only the signatures. And Rabbi Yechanan is holding therefore that this is Rabbi Meir. So when I asked Rabbi Barchanan said the name of Rabbi Yechanan already that this is Rabbi Elazar, the says this is Machlokes Amoraim what exactly Rabbi Yechanan had said in the proper explanation of this Mishnah. Now we get to our next Mishnah. The Mishnah introduces the topic of the shliach lahalacha, the person who is a messenger, an agent of the husband to bring the get and give it to the woman, to the wife on his behalf. The Gemara says who's allowed to do that? So the Gemara says everybody's allowed to do that with 5 exceptions. Cheresh shayta v'katan, that is the deaf mute, the non-functional person, and the child, and a blind person and an eved kechavim. Now, the Mishnah now says if he changed in the middle, that is, he became healthy, had his vision restored, or the eved kechavim was megayer, all those cases it's possible because he began the shlichus in a situation which was no good. However, if he started kosher and then he went bad and then he switched back to being good, that's okay. So if he was healthy, then he became a cheresh or shaita, or if he was blind, or if he lost his vision and then he went back to being in regular full health, all those cases are kosher because the beginning and the end was in kosher. So that's the rule. The beginning and the end of the mission has to be accomplished in a kosher situation. Now we begin the Gemara. The Gemara wants to know what's the problem with a blind person. So the Gemara says, you understand, a cheresh shayta and katan cannot be a messenger, they can't be a shliach. Shlichus, Rashi explains, is learned out of the pasuk of ish se'ois se'lebeis avos, and there has to be an ish, has to be a healthy, functional adult male, or at least a healthy, functional adult. But how do you see? But what's the problem with a blind person? He's healthy and he's functional. Now, also, we understand he's not in the parsha of kedushin, therefore he's not in the parsha of gittin, and he can't be a messenger for something that you can't do yourself. But again, what's the problem with a blind person? So Gemara offers a few answers. Rav Shesha says because he does not know who he took it from or who he's giving it to, so he cannot know if he's fulfilling the messenger of divorcing the woman with a get from her husband. Maybe he's taking it from one man and giving it to the wrong wife. Samara rejects this. Samara says, Rav Yosef asks, the blind person can identify people by their voice. It has to be, because how is a blind person together with his wife? How does he know it's his wife? And how are any people mutter to their wives at night when they can't see? So it must be you can tell people by their voice. So she can also tell the man and the woman by her voice. It says Rav Yosef a different shot. So why the blind person is not allowed to be a shliach to bring a get? He says, talking about chutzlaretz, we have to say b'fanei nachta, b'fanei nachta. And since he's blind, he can't say it was written before me, it was signed before me, he didn't see. So Abaya asks on this, but hold on a second. What if he was able to see when he took the get and he took the mission on, and then he became blind along the way? That's obviously possible. Yet, according to you, he could say b'fanei nachta, he saw the ksiva and the chasima, and now he could say it, even though he can't see it anymore, but so he's already seen it. So where do you see in our Mishnah, though, that in a case where he was healthy in his vision at the time that he began, and then he became blind, that he's still puzzled to bring it? So the Mishnah is very simple, because the Mishnah says that if he was healthy and then he became blind and then he returned to his faculties of sight, then it's kasha. It's mashma only if he returns. But if he stayed blind, not. So the Mishnah says no. Really, the blind person, even if he stays blind, could deliver the get without a problem. The reason that we said that he went back to being healthy is because the other fork is because the other cases there, the shaita and the cheresh, they have to go back to being healthy because they don't have das while they are ill, and if they would not return to being healthy, they could not deliver it. Would not be in the parsha of shlichus. We lumped the blind person together with all of those, but really the truth is the blind person is different, and even if he stays blind, he's allowed to deliver it because the only problem is that he has to see b'fanei nachta. So Rav Ashi, if you look carefully in the Mishnah, this is correct, because the Mishnah gives the rule at the end. He says that the psol is any situation where you don't have the beginning of the shlichus and the end of the shlichus bedas, with intelligence. He doesn't say with health or with kashrus. He says bedas, with intelligence. So obviously it's referring only to the cheresh and the shaita. It's not referring to the blind person, because the blind person, even if he did not return to full health at the time that he delivered the get, would still be kosher to deliver it. The Gemara asks a Shaila, what about an Eved? Is it possible for an Eved to be a Sheikh? Now, an Eved is an Eved Kenani, so he's a Eved Kechavim, but he became an Eved, he gets the status of a Isha Yisrael, so he has the status of a Jewish woman. So the question is, could he be a Sheikh? Now, the Gemara doesn't ask about a regular Sheikh L'Halach, where he's bringing the get as an agent of the husband. He asks about him being a Sheikh L'Kabbalah, to receive the get as an agent of the woman, and the moment the get reaches her hand, she should become divorced. So the Gemara says, if you look in our Mishnah, we said that an Eved Kechavim cannot be a Shliach. That implies that anybody better than Eved Kechavim could be a Shliach, so an Eved could be a Shliach. That would seem to be the implication from that. So the Gemara says that Rav Asi and Rav Yechanan, that's not true. An Eved cannot be a Shliach, cannot be a Shliach L'Kabbalah, to receive the get for the woman, and the reason is because he's not in the entire parsha of Gittin and Kiddushin. He doesn't have Gittin, he doesn't have Kiddushin, doesn't have Gittin like a regular Yisrael. So Gemara asks, you mean to tell me that Shlichus is dependent on being in the parsha? Which indicates that anything that he's in the parsha of, he should be able to be a Shliach for? It's not true. I'll show you something that someone is in the parsha of, and he still cannot be a Shliach for that. So the Gemara asks about Truma. The halacha is that an Eved Kechavim who brings Truma, if he has his own property, his own possessions, Rashi seems to say he's an Eved, but the Gemara here speaks of an Eved Kechavim. If he brings Truma, his Truma counts as Truma, and it's Chal, and it's all the halachos, only Kahanim are allowed to eat it, and all the dinim of Truma for real. And so we have a Mishnah that says that, and then we have a different Mishnah that says that an Eved and a Kusi that do Truma as a messenger of Yisrael, even if they're told, even if Yisrael gives them permission to take Truma for them, it has no effect. It's not Chal. So that would seem to indicate that even though they are in the parsha of Truma, they still cannot be messengers to take Truma. So it's not dependent on the factor of being in the parsha of it. Not everything that you're in the parsha of could you bring. So the Gemara says that would seem to say the reason is because we have a drasha in Truma. It says Gam Atem. It doesn't have to say Gam Atem. It could just say Atem to link the Gam to the Atem. Gam refers to the Shliach. Atem refers to you yourself. That the Gam and the Atem have to be the same. They both have to be Yisrael. And therefore we learn that an Eved Kechavim is out. Cannot be a Shliach for those things. And therefore you can't tell me that it's dependent on who is in the Parsha, who is not in the Parsha. Someone says, no, that's not the Drasha. The Drasha is not to exclude an Eved Kechavim. The Drasha is to exclude someone who's not a Ben Bris. And